Discover the miraculous redemption of Dinah, unveiling God's divine plan for Jacob's daughter. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, as the sun rose over the land of Canaan, a new day bestowed upon Dinah, the beloved daughter of Jacob and Leah, a gentle warmth and beckoning promise. Sunlight filtered through the thin fabric of her family's tent, brushing against her cheeks like a soft whisper, rousing her dreams. With a heart brimming with youthful anticipation, she rose to embrace the dawn, longing for the companionship of the women of Shechem. Today was to be a day of laughter and song, a day where stories intertwined like the vibrant colors of her best garments. With eagerness, Dinah bathed in water drawn from the cool stream nearby, the rippling surface reflecting her joy and innocence as she donned her finest attire, a flowy tunic adorned with bright beads that swayed with her every move. The scent of wildflowers and spices filled the air, mingling with the sweet notes of morning, and she felt invincible, fueled by dreams of friendship and unity among the women of the city. Yet, as the familiar boundary of her family's tent faded behind her, a shiver danced down her spine. Leah's warnings echoed in her mind, reminders of the world beyond their covenant family, strangers dwelling in shadows. Nevertheless, speechless courage propelled her forward, and she squashed her unease, her spirit eager to weave into the fabric of the community. As Dinah traversed the busy pathways of Shechem, vibrancy buzzed around her. Merchants bartered loudly, and children played, their laughter a joyful melody. Beauty painted the land, yet an unsettling absence lingered, a felt void from Leah, whose protection enveloped her like a blanket. Silencing the unrest within her heart, she stepped deeper into the city. But her fervent anticipation swiftly twisted into horror when destiny unveiled its dark face. Shechem, the son of Hamor, approached her, drawing her in with fierce eyes that shimmered with unsettling desire. They flashed like shards of glass, promising a thrill but harboring a sinister undercurrent. Dinah's breath faltered, consumed by the weight of impending dread. With cruel swiftness, he laid hands upon her, shattering her hopes and plunging her world into chaos. Back in the tents, as whispers of Dinah's fate reached Jacob, a fabric of discord began to unravel among his sons. Simeon and Levi, united in fraternal rage, ignited with the flame of vengeance. Honor had been besmirched, their family's name stained, and the sacred laws of hospitality threatened. They huddled together beneath the shadow of their father's silence, devising a cunning plan under the pretense of seeking a covenant with the son of Hamor, concealing their intentions of wrath. Days loomed in heavy silence as Dinah's heart became the anchor for her brothers. Even in her muted despair, she stirred in them the need for retribution. They plotted fervently, blinded by love and fury, ignoring the ancient codes they would soon forsake. A web of deception took shape, a deceitful alliance in the city laden with misguided hospitality. The anticipated day dawned, a day draped in foreboding as Simeon and Levi entered the city. They struck with righteous fury, blades glistening as shadows fell upon the unsuspecting inhabitants. Their thirst for vengeance clashed with honor in a storm of violence, blood spilling onto the earth, each drop a haunting echo of Dinah's trauma. In the aftermath of chaos, Jacob bore the weight of grief and guilt, a father watching his children fracture under the burden of sin. Fleeing from the ruins of their actions, they carried with them a sister marked by overwhelming suffering. Yet within her flickered a divine ember of hope, a hope that whispered of healing and the possibility of restoration. As they journeyed into the unknown, shadows closed around them. But Dinah, enveloped by silence, clung to the belief that her pain could somehow intertwine with a heavenly purpose yet to be revealed. The tapestry of her life would take dark turns, but each thread pulsed with potential, laying the groundwork for a story of divine redemption beyond the chaos. Will Dinah emerge from this darkness into the light? The dawn of her true journey beckons as she takes fragile steps toward the future, igniting a longing for her voice amidst the ruins.
Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey. I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. In the lingering echoes of Dinah's ordeal, questions ripple through the air. How will God weave her pain into a tapestry of purpose? What promises linger unspoken for Jacob's daughter? A flicker of hope remains, illuminating a path unseen, whispering that from tragedy springs the sweetness of divine restoration. As dusk descends upon their escaping family, the night draws near, hiding mysteries yet to unfold. Beneath the vast expanse of the heavens, Dinah's journey into resilience and renewal awaits, and the divine plan unfurls just beyond the horizon. As darkness wrapped the land in its solemn embrace, Jacob and his sons journeyed further from the reproachful shadows of Shechem, their hearts heavy with the consequences of their actions. The air itself seemed to tremble with unspoken grief, each step taken through the rocky terrain weighed down by burdens carried too long. Dinah, once buoyed by the laughter and delight of friendship, now walked in silence, her heart a fragile vessel of untold sorrow. As they ascended a slight rise, a flicker of firelight emerged in the distance, a soft glow against the deepening night. Jacob's heart quickened, recognizing the familiar
flickering of their hearth. Nevertheless, dread followed him. How could he explain to his household the tragedy that had unfolded? Gathering his family near, Jacob sought to calm the storm within. Yet, as Dinah's brothers huddled, simmering with unspent anger, Simeon cast a glance towards their sister, his heart torn between rage and protectiveness. "How can we return home in peace?" he seethed. "Our honor demands that we confront the world that has stained our sister." "Peace is also the way of our fathers," Levi cautioned, his voice steady but burdened with the weight of wisdom. "But vengeance begets vengeance. What hope lies ahead for Dinah if we make an enemy of our own kin?" Listening intently, Dinah felt the pulse of ancestral blood weave through their discussions, an echo of the lives of their forefathers, Abraham and Isaac, who had walked unflinching in faith even in the face of trials. Meanwhile, her dreams of companionship faded with each word they exchanged, replaced by the haunting shadows of her experience. Memories of trust now trembled in suspicion, her spirit yearning for healing. As night waned, dreams of restoration danced at the edges of her mind, kindled by the promise of the Almighty. In her heart, she knew her story was but a thread in the greater tapestry of her lineage, woven with the destiny of Israel. The following day broke with a fierce light, the sun's rays spilling life into the pallid land. Jacob summoned his sons, his voice steady with the authority of their father. "We must return to the place of our sojourning. It is there we cannot forget this trial. We shall rebuild and restore. Dinah must not carry the weight of isolation." At this moment, Dinah found a voice within her spirit that surged forward with a resolute whisper. "Father," she said, her strength emerging from the well of her pain, "do not banish me to shadows. I will face the tribes of the land, carry my story with dignity, proclaiming the truth of my identity." The deliberations among the brothers halted, a storm of emotion stirring within them. Reinstated by Dinah's brave words, Jacob recognized the resolve in her eyes, a flame rekindled. "So shall it be. We walk together as a family strengthened by trials and nourished by hope." That evening, they gathered around the flickering fire, and over humble offerings, their spirits intensified. Dinah spoke of resilience, of faith, drawing upon the stories of their ancestors.
Joseph, who would later stand in the courts of Egypt, Joseph, whose trials had fortified his character, and of Ruth the Moabitess, who walked steadfastly to a divine purpose unknown. The last ember of hope ignited amidst their hearts as they realized her fate intertwined with the fate of the nation. Little did they perceive, as they sat cloaked in unity, the shadow of a greater purpose looming ahead, the unfolding of God's sovereign plan that would echo through generations. For from the brokenness of a daughter's heart, healing would arise.
Through the path of suffering, God's tapestry would become radiant, a testament to His unwavering faithfulness and redemptive love. And as dawn approached, whispers of a new beginning stirred in the hearts of all, echoing a promise yet to manifest, a promise that the tears of Dinah would one day be transformed into songs of joy. What threads of purpose may God be weaving through this deep-seated pain? The day of revelation beckons, where even the most shadowed past may yield the brightest light. As the sun rose over the horizon, casting a golden hue upon the rugged landscape, Jacob gathered his sons and Dinah beneath the sprawling boughs of an ancient oak. Memories of their forefathers coursed through the cool morning breeze, murmuring promises of protection and faith. The air felt charged with anticipation, the land itself holding its breath for what was to come. "Listen to me, my sons," Jacob began, his voice steady and resolute. "The living God, who has walked with us, beckons us not merely to reclaim our honor, but to fulfill a greater purpose. We are the descendants of Abraham, destined to carry a legacy that is rooted in grace and redemption." Dinah gazed at her father, her heart swelling with a cocktail of hope and fear. She felt burdened by the call for courage, yet exhilarated by the weight of her identity. "Father," she interjected softly, her voice rising above the gentle rustle of leaves, "I have borne much and learned that my scars tell a story of survival. If our family is to go forth, we go together. Let my journey reflect not just my pain, but the resilience of our God." The brothers exchanged glances fraught with unspoken thoughts. Their hearts were torn between the desire for vengeance and the call for unity. Simon, feeling the rising tide of emotions, stepped forward. "Are we to allow this wrong to linger unavenged? What will become of Dinah's honor if the sun sets on this matter unaddressed?" "Ah, but what if honor is regained not through bloodshed, but through humility and strength of spirit?" Levi spoke, his words cutting through the tension like the sharpened edge of a knife. "We must tread wisely. Our hope lies in our willingness to forge a new path." Drawing nearer, Dinah could sense the fervor in her brothers' hearts and the warmth in her father's gaze. Let us not forget the tales of Joseph and how God's hand protected him through trials. Who can say that He will not use our stories to orchestrate a greater miracle? She implored, for such was the hope echoed in her spirit. As she spoke, a cloud of uncertainty hung heavy in the air, contrasted by the light illuminating her face. The very essence of community was embodied in their gathering, a blend of vulnerability and resolve. Jacob, with a heart full of fatherly pride, reaffirmed his faith. "We tread forward. We shall revisit Shechem, not as avengers, but as vessels of healing." Journey there will signify a declaration, of forgiveness, of reclamation. Though the path was laden with the weight of history, the unity of the family emerged like a lighthouse amidst a tempest. They grasped hands, a circle of faith formed, each pledging their commitment to this sacred mission. And so, under the watchful eye of heaven, they began their journey back to Shechem, hearts entwined and spirits lifted. As they moved onward, the land whispered in harmony with their resolve, its valleys marking the trail of transformation. The sun arched high, a celestial witness to their pilgrimage of purpose.
What they traversed was more than a physical journey. It was a wrestling of the soul, an echo of struggles known to their ancestors. For in every footfall, they sensed that God was acting in the silence, weaving his masterful design in the tapestry of their lives. As they neared Shechem, a cloud hovered above, hinting at divine engagement. The ground felt tremulous beneath their feet, for the unforeseen lay ahead, laced with threads of destiny. Little did they realize that the hearts of a nation would soon be forever impacted, not only by Dinah's plight, but by the decision of a family to embrace a promise of hope. For in the very heart of this journey, God's sovereign plan was quietly unfolding, preparing to transform despair into deliverance and sorrow into an everlasting legacy. What divine mysteries awaited them, hidden yet radiant in the depths of their shared trials. The day of revelation was rapidly approaching, where every tear shed might culminate in an anthem of divine restoration and the unmistakable glory of God. As they approached the familiar hills of Shechem, their surroundings stirred memories of the past, the laughter, the sorrow, the distant echoes of a fractured honor. Yet beyond these memories lay a horizon gilded with God's promise. Jacob felt a shift in the air, a call to not only confront but to heal. "Let us stop here a moment," Jacob commanded, sensing the gravity of their mission. He turned to his sons, their faces taut with conflicting emotions. "We are entering the land of our forefathers and the place of our turmoil. It is here that forgiveness and reconciliation must take root." Levi nodded, feeling the weight of his father's words pressing upon him like the weight of the stones in his pocket. "Shall we seek wisdom from the Lord before we approach the men of Shechem? We need his guidance, lest we tread in despair instead of hope." Jacob knelt, and his sons followed, creating a hallowed circle upon the earth. Lifting their hands in prayer, they sought the Almighty for peace and favor. "O God of our fathers," Jacob cried out, "guide us through this land. Grant us hearts that seek understanding, that we may respond with grace rather than fury." As the prayer hung in the air, a stillness enveloped them. The uncertain wind stilled, and in their midst they heard a whisper, soft yet powerful. "I have not forsaken you, nor will I abandon your lineage. Your battles are my battles, and your legacy shall not be marred by the schemes of men." A renewed strength surged through the brothers as they rose to their feet. Dinah's eyes shone with tears not of sorrow, but of understanding, for she felt the weight of God's promise resting upon them. "Father, if our journey is to reclaim what was lost, let it be established in the spirit of unity and love," she proposed, her voice both soft and bold. "Indeed, Dinah," Jacob responded, "the foundation of our actions must reflect our covenant with the living God. Every step we take from this moment forth will carry the echo of our faith." Their hearts set with purpose, they resumed their steps toward Shechem. As they passed through the gates of the city, the familiar faces of the Shechemites turned toward them with a mix of curiosity and caution. The air was thick with unspoken tension, a physical manifestation of the past that had not been fully reconciled. In the marketplace, they caught sight of Hamor, the father of the man responsible for their recent woes. Jacob stepped forth, his heart pounding with the weight of what must be said. "Hamor, we have come not as avengers, but as families seeking peace. My daughter has known much pain, but today we aim to weave a story of healing rooted in forgiveness." At those words, whispers rippled through the crowd. Dinah felt the eyes upon her, a collective gaze, apprehensive, yet searching for hope. Then something unexpected occurred. A single voice rose among the crowd. Can this truly be done? Can our wounds be healed? It was the voice of a woman, her face etched with the marks of loss, yet yearning for restoration. What can be done, O Jacob, when the scar of dishonor is deep and trust has been broken? In the heart of that exchange, all paused, held by the tension of impossible expectations and buried grievances. Dinah inhaled deeply, sensing the divine unveiling of something more profound. Her heart thrummed with anticipation, for in this very moment she could hear the echoes of God's sovereignty calling to the broken-hearted. "Trust, dear sister," she spoke, with a voice brave and open, "for through our shared pain, divine beauty can arise. We may stand at the crossroads of our history, but we can choose a different path, a path of healing together." As hope emerged, the crowd fell silent, contemplating this new possibility. In that sacred moment of connection, Dinah felt the stirring of something monumental. She was not only a victim, but a vessel of change. God was at work in ways they could not fully comprehend, and as they stood on the cusp of reconciliation, the full scope of His sovereign plan began to unfold. What would be required of them as they walked the tender line between restoration and justice?
Was yet to reveal itself, for the best was yet to come, a revelation of grace that would alter the fabric of their destiny forever. As the murmurs of the crowd quieted, a thick veil of expectation hung in the air. The people of Shechem, burdened by the weight of old grievances, turned their attention more intently upon Dinah and her family. The serenity of her declaration glimmered like a beacon in the gloom of discord. Jacob could see their skepticism resonating with fragments of hope, their past pain mingled with an instinct for reconciliation. Hamor, struck by the soft yet firm conviction in Jacob's words and Dinah's radiant presence, took a cautious step forward. "Jacob," he addressed, "your words are a balm to my soul, yet they come forth amidst our shared tragedy. Is it not human to hold on to the pain? How does one forget wounds that run so deep?" Levi, moved by the exchange, felt a rising fervor within him. Forgiveness is born in the heart, but needs the courage to blossom into action. If we wish to heal, we must first strip away our veils of bitterness. His eyes burned with sincerity as he sought to awaken understanding among the Shechemites. The woman from the crowd, tears now glistening upon her cheeks, stepped forth once more, emboldened by the discourse. "Is it true, then? Can we forge a new legacy out of our ashes? Can Dinah stand not only as a daughter of Jacob, but as a sister in our shared humanity?" Encouraged, Dinah met her gaze with unwavering resolve. "Sister, it is not through erasure of our history that we find peace, but rather through the sacred act of acknowledgement and love. We are not here to diminish the past, but to build a future where our children may thrive beyond our sorrow." Silence fell heavily, and the echoes of her voice reverberated through the marketplace. Jacob felt a stirring in his spirit, recognizing that this moment was pivotal. It was the very essence of God's promise being birthed through them. In this visceral engagement, the lives of both families began to intertwine, woven perhaps by a thread ordained long before through their ancestors. Yet amidst this burgeoning alliance, Dinah could sense a shadow lurking, a resistance born from scarred hearts tightening against the possibility of forgiveness. The prophecy whispered to her mind. The covenant that God had spoken to Abraham echoed as a reminder. "In you, all nations of the earth shall be blessed." This blessing could only flow through reconciliation. Suddenly, a sturdy young Shechemite, whose face bore the scars of past skirmishes, spoke out defiantly. "And what of justice? Are we to forget the transgressions made? Surely blood demands blood." The atmosphere shifted palpably. Tension crackled and swelled like an approaching storm. Jacob felt the gravity of this challenge, for the Scripture's decree provided a clear path for justice. "True justice is not an eye for an eye," he replied, his voice steady, "but a reconciled heart that chooses mercy. Can we not rise above to allow love to conquer hate?" At that moment, Dinah stepped forward once more, a poised figure amidst chaos. "We seek not a martyr's blood, but a sister's covenant," she cried out, her conviction piercing through the tumult. "Let us bear each other's burdens. Let us nurture this unity in recognition of our shared humanity." As she spoke, the very air around them shimmered with divine energy. Spirits within the crowd were nudged by the heavenly whisper of the Almighty. The hearts of many began to hear, perhaps for the first time, the possibility of a future reclaimed and redeemed. In the hearts of all present, God's plan surged forth like a river breaking through the constraints of rock. Here, at the convergence of pain and potential, the path toward restoration widened, yet it remained veiled by the mystery of what was to transpire next. Would they answer this call? Would the Shechemites open their hearts to grace, or would they cling to the chains of their past? As the sun dipped low and painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, a shuddering realization washed over Dinah. Unbeknownst to them, their choice would echo through generations. Thus, as hearts grappled with the truth of God's revelation, the unity of purpose hung delicately in the balance, waiting to unfold. The full scope of God's sovereign plan loomed on the horizon. How would it manifest in this sacred moment of divine history? As dusk descended, casting a golden hue over the assembly, Dinah's heart beat with a sacred urgency. She felt the weight of her ancestors' hopes pressing upon her. The legacy of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob pulsed in her veins. She turned to Levi and spoke, "Let us gather strength, brother, for the hearts of our people teeter on the edge of a pivotal choice." Levi nodded, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword, his gaze sweeping the crowd. A multitude of faces reflected confusion, anger, and flickering hope. Many Shechemites wrestled with the choice before them, and yet a new whisper floated through the gathered throng, a longing for something deeper than vengeance. One of the elders, an aged man with a beard like softened wool, raised his voice, trembling as he spoke. "What is it that we truly seek? For years we have fought and bled over honor lost, but shall we not seek also the promise of peace?" His words hung in the air, a fragile bridge over turbulent waters. "What becomes of justice, old man?" The young Shechemite's face twisted in skepticism. "If we abandon our claim to avenge Dinah's wrong, what remains of our pride?" "Mere pride can blind a soul to wisdom," the elder replied with compassion. "True justice lies in reconciliation. It is found in the courage to mold our shared fate rather than be crushed beneath the weight of history." The air vibrated with a collective breath held tight as Dinah felt a trembling surge of divine inspiration. "Hear me, people of Shechem," she called, the resonant clarity of her voice igniting the atmosphere. "Wound for wound we have succumbed to darkness, perpetuating the cycle of sorrow. Yet consider where this path leads. Is it a future you would want for your children? Or shall we be the generation that invokes a new dawn?" The murmurs of the crowd swelled, some nodding in agreement, others defiantly shaking their heads. Jacob, emboldened by Dinah's fervor, stepped into the breach. "My kin, we are called to be a blessing, every tribe, every nation wrought from love and unity. For are we not descendants of the same Creator? Must we not aim to fulfill the promise of being a light unto the world?" As he spoke, the Spirit of the Lord seemed to wash over them, filling the tense air with an almost palpable peace. Eyes hardened by distrust began to soften. Hearts, once closed, began to ripple with the yearning for hope.
Amidst this divine orchestration, one young woman, her hands trembling at her sides, voiced a question that had been simmering beneath the surface. What is required of us to become whole again? Dinah saw the spark of curiosity igniting the spirit of reconciliation within them. It begins with an offering of our hearts. We must disarm ourselves of our hatred and jealousy and bind ourselves to one another in covenant. And suddenly, the weight of what her vision entailed gripped Dinah, a radical realignment of their relationships, woven together by the threads of grace. Standing among them, she felt an invisible current drawing them closer, the mystery of God's sovereign plan interlacing through their every hesitation, stirring them toward unity. But, within the depth of this reconciliation, shadows still danced at the edges of their fray. For even while some were receptive, others clenched their hands into fists, unwilling to yield to unfamiliar intimacy. Hamor stepped forward once more, sensing the tense shift in the crowd. I see the winds of change, perhaps, but how shall my people trust? What guarantee do we have that this covenant shall not falter, as so many have before? The atmosphere thickened, pregnant with an unspoken truth, for not all hearts had opened to the call. Yet, in this moment of hesitation, Dinah felt a reminder. God's covenant with Abraham buoyed her, whispering of promises yet to unravel. As evening gave way to twilight, she sensed a turning point hanging in the balance. A divine invitation awaited their response. "Will you come together in the name of love's redemptive strength?" Dinah implored, tilting her face up toward the heavens. The wind seemed to answer her plea, stirring the leaves above. In that sanctified moment, God's sovereign plan hung within the delicate web woven of human choice. Little could they perceive the depths of the unfolding revelation. No eye had seen what would come from this night. For in the shadows of their potential unity lay the very essence of
God's promise, poised to break like dawn upon their besieged hearts, waiting only for their hearts to beat in acceptance. Time whispered of what was yet to come, and as hearts shifted, a question hung suspended in the air. What miracle might blossom from their commitment to peace? As the last rays of sunlight faded, enveloping the encampment in deepening shadow, a hush swept over the assembly. In that silence, the echoes of Dinah's call resounded in the hearts of many, vibrating with a sense of divine urgency. The weight of their collective history hung heavily upon each soul, yet a flicker of hope began to shine, daring them to envision a new horizon. "What say you, brothers and sisters of Shechem?" Dinah's voice rose once more, rising like incense before the Lord. "What if we clasp hands, not in war, but in a sacred bond of peace? The Lord desires not our strife, but our harmony. We stand at a crossroads. Shall we take the path that leads us into darkness, or shall we light the way with love?" At this, a deeply contemplative quiet enveloped the crowd, while the sky became a tapestry of stars. The elder, with wisdom etched into every line on his face, stepped forward again. "There is truth in what this woman says. Let us lay down our swords, for they will only cause further bloodshed. A new tradition can rise from our ashes, a legacy of love rather than vengeance." Another young voice broke in, fiery yet cautious. "But what if we are betrayed? What if they turn their backs on us? The scars of betrayal are not so easily healed." "Ah, but in risking our hearts, we open the door to healing," Jacob interjected, his voice imbued with conviction. "We are to be a people set apart, a light to the nations, and in this endeavor lies our witness of faith in the one who has brought us thus far. Will we not stand as a testament to the transformative power of love?" A murmuring rose from the crowd, some voices lifted in hope, while others still clung to doubts like shadows. Dinah sensed the struggle, the pulling apart of hearts as they weighed love against fear.
"What have we to lose? It is said," she proclaimed, lifting her gaze toward heaven, "that perfect love drives out fear. I implore you, let us step into this unknown together, hand in hand, united in purpose." As if the heavens themselves took notice of her bold proclamation, the wind danced among the trees, carrying with it whispers of promise. And deep within her spirit, Dinah felt the stirring of prophecy, a flicker of the plan God had laid before them all, mysterious yet ardent. Then Levi, reminded of the wild courage that ran through their family's blood, raised his sword high, not to threaten, but as a symbol of protection, a dedication not to arms, but to their pledge. Let this become our sword of unity. We will
guard our hearts and our kin with the strength of our covenant. Many among the assembly, hearts ignited by the shared vision of reconciliation, began to raise their voices in agreement. A chorus emerged, a tapestry of intentions woven by the threads of desire for a future unmarred by hatred. Yet beneath the surface thrummed an undercurrent of unresolved conflict. Some remained unmoved, their spirits entangled in a web of bitterness, unwilling to trust the newness that awaited them. The light was drawing near, but darkness dogged their heels, like wolves stalking unsuspecting prey. In a breathless moment, Dinah felt a chill. A sense of urgency conjured by the Spirit compelled her to speak again. "Let us meet at dawn, at the well of our fathers, and there lay our offerings before the Lord, seeking His guidance in our covenant." As the assembly began to disperse, a shiver of anticipation filled the air. Their destinies now tethered to the fragile hope ignited that night. Each heart, a piece of the tapestry, could now harbor light or shadow. Yet Dinah knew this was but the inception of a greater tapestry unfolding. Little did they comprehend the purity of the covenant God would form, surging with the promise of redemption yet to be grasped. What new marvels would arise by dawn? And what deeper truths lay hidden in the cords of faith they dared to weave? A divine plan lingered, waiting for the dawn when all would be revealed. A promise wrapped in mystery, eclipsing the fears that had just begun to dissolve. As the first blush of dawn began to illuminate the horizon, the air was heavy with expectation. The stars that had shone brightly through the night faded one by one, yielding to the light of a new day. Dinah, having risen early, made her way to the well of her fathers, her heart pulsating with both hope and trepidation. She recalled her proclamation of peace and now felt the weight of its significance heavy upon her. Soon the encampment stirred as the people gathered, each face reflecting a spectrum of emotions: resentment, hope, fear. Jacob approached first, his countenance a blend of paternal worry and unyielding faith. "My children," he said, raising his arms as if to embrace them all, "this day is filled with promise. Here at this well, the heritage of our fathers is interwoven with the blessing of our Lord. Let us present our offerings and our hearts, seeking His divine light." The assembly formed a circle, the well at its center, an emblem of life and sustenance. Dinah stepped forward, offering a basket filled with fresh fruits and loaves of bread. May these offerings symbolize our dedication to unity, to learning anew the ways of our God. Let this act of devotion cleanse our hearts and strengthen our resolve. One by one, the people began to offer their gifts. Some brought flowers, while others shared intricacies of woven fabric, tokens of their lives, symbols of their labors. Yet there were still those who lingered at the fringes, their heads bowed, their hearts hardened against the spirit of reconciliation that stretched before them. Levi, standing next to Dinah, spoke up again, his voice rippling through the assembly. "Brothers and sisters, do not let fear bind you. The Lord has called us to unite, to heal the rifts that would lead us into destruction. Each offering stands as a testimony of our yearning for peace." At that moment, the cool morning breeze began to swirl, carrying the prayers of the faithful as incense to the heavens. Dinah felt the presence of the Lord enveloping them, tangible, warm, like the embrace of a long-lost friend. "Let us therefore approach the altar of God with boldness," she urged, "for it is written, 'Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you.'" James 4:8. The crowd, stirred by her words and the palpable energy of hope that filled the air, began to rise in unified prayer. Voices intertwined, a chorus lifted to the heavens, calling upon the God of their forefathers. Dinah looked upon their faces now. There was a flicker of light igniting even the most despondent among them. Yet shadows loomed beneath the surface. A figure stepped from the back of the gathering, a man whose frown masked deeper struggles, one who had sworn to wreak vengeance upon Jacob's clan. "Have you taken leave of your senses?" he called out, piercing the holy atmosphere with a challenge. "What good can come of this? Will their hearts truly change?" His skepticism shot through the prayer like an arrow, and for a moment silence fell again, a heavy, cold silence. Dinah felt a tremor of fear wrap around the gathering, threatening to unravel the fragile unity they had woven. But she quickly remembered the call of their mission. "Our God is not blind to our fears, nor deaf to our cries. The covenant we make today echoes into eternity. He desires to transform our hearts, even those hardened by grief and resentment." As she spoke, a soft light began to emanate from the well. Slowly, like the sun breaking above the horizon, warmth filled the air. The assembly watched in awe as ripples danced across the water's surface. Dinah realized this was no ordinary moment. It was a divine sign of God's intention to bless their covenant. "What could this mean?" came a whispered query from the assembly, glancing at one another, eyes widening in holy expectancy. Little did they know, beneath the surface of that still water lay the depths of God's sovereign plan, a revelation waiting to surge forth in river-like abundance. The dawn had barely touched their understanding. All that lay ahead was shrouded in divine mystery, the profound truth that their hearts were but the first canvas for God's glory to be painted. What sacred wonders awaited their union this day? And how profoundly would their trust in God reshape not just their futures, but the very destiny of nations to come? Day was only at its dawn, yet the echoes of their covenant were destined to ripple far beyond their sight. As the people stood transfixed, eyes locked upon the shimmering surface of the well, a tremor ran through the earth beneath them, as if creation itself responded to their cries. The murmurs of uncertain hearts began to mingle with an awakening faith, and from the back of the assembly the voice of Levi rose once more, bold and unyielding. "It is the Lord who brings forth water from the rock. He is the one who calls forth healing from despair." His words ignited a flicker in the hearts of the weary, evoking a spirit of courage and reverence among those who had hesitated. Dinah, emboldened by the swell of voices around her, stepped back to the well, kneeling before it with a heart immersed in prayer. "O Lord, you see us, a family divided, fragile and in need. Bring forth unity from our offerings. Let the waters of this well overflow with your grace, that all might drink and be healed." At that moment, the water began to bubble, rising like an offering unto the heavens. A brilliant light emanated from the depths, illuminating the faces of the onlookers, as if the glory of God had found a resting place among them. Gasps escaped their lips. "Surely the hand of God is with us!" exclaimed a woman from the assembly, clutching her child as the warmth of the light enveloped their bodies. The flicker of faith grew into a flame, as others began to step forth with renewed hope, casting aside their divisions and doubts. Suddenly, the figure of the skeptic, who had dared to question the worth of their gathering, found himself trembling as waves of holy conviction washed over him. His frown transformed into a mask of astonishment, and he, too, fell to his knees before the well. "Forgive me, I have been blind to the mercy of our God," he cried out, tears shimmering in the light.
The transformation stirred through the crowd like a gust of wind, drawing forth confessions of grievances long held in secret, fears acknowledged, and grudges laid bare. Encouraged by the spontaneous release, Dinah stood tall and raised her hands once more. "Let us testify of His goodness, for He has not only invited us to draw near, but has responded in love. The Lord will take our mourning and transform it into joy. He will bind our wounds and grant us peace." As her declaration soared across the breeze, the air itself seemed to shift, and the heavens opened slightly above, revealing an array of colors that painted the sky. The people marveled, for the sight was unlike any they had seen, a divine tapestry woven from their united prayers. "Behold," they exclaimed together, "a sign, a promise of the God who walks with us." And where there had been silence, voices lifted in praise, rejoicing for the God who had
deemed them worthy of His presence. But within that sacred moment, Dinah sensed a deeper trembling of the world beyond, a whisper resonating with a truth yet to be revealed. "Lord," she cried again, her spirit attuned to the covenant unfolding, "what lies ahead in your sovereign plan? For the light draws us toward purpose, and I feel the weight of destiny in this moment." As she spoke, the well shimmered more fervently, as if the waters themselves held the answer. What profound revelation awaited them from its depths, and how would their hearts, now softened and united, engage in the path set before them? The day had barely begun, and the promise of transformation loomed on the edges of their understanding. Beneath the layers of the still water, a deeper mystery lay concealed, the ripples of this moment destined to extend far beyond their grasp, a prelude to the unfolding of God's grand design, waiting just beneath the surface of their realities. And in the heart of Dinah, a spark ignited, for she began to grasp that her life would intertwine with the destinies of many, as the world was drawn toward the greatness of the One who fashioned all. What would she uncover, and how would their collective faith shape not just their day, but generations yet to come? As dawn broke fully over the land, bathing Shechem in a warm glow of golden light, a profound stillness settled among the gathered assembly. The last vestiges of night drifted away, replaced by the expectation of a new day infused with divine promise. Jacob saw the transformations taking place, anxiety yielding to hope, bitterness giving way to a burgeoning covenant. This was not just a moment of restoration for Dinah, but a rebirth for their entire family and community. In the ever-illuminating glow, Dinah stood at the well, feeling the rush of life surging through her spirit. She lifted her arms toward the heavens, a symbol of surrender and gratitude. "O Lord, whose love knows no boundaries, thank you for this covenant we have established. May we never forget the power of unity birthed from our pain." Drawing closer, the people of Shechem began to approach the well, each person carrying their wounds and weaving together their histories in this moment of collective healing. They linked hands, forming a circle around Dinah, and together raised their voices in one accord, their supplications intermingling, a fragrant offering ascending to the Almighty. "This day we proclaim that healing shall flow from here," Dinah cried, her voice unwavering. "Let it be known that the cycle of vengeance is broken among us. We choose to walk in light, allowing our past trials to serve as the furnace that forges our future in strength and love." The assembly echoed her words, each heart aligning with the vision of renewed kinship and a shared destiny. "Love over strife, unity over division," they cried, releasing their burdens into the air with each declaration, their unity becoming palpable as fear fled before the onslaught of faith. As the spirit of reconciliation blossomed, Dinah perceived the shadow of the past lifting, replaced by the dawn of a new legacy. She felt the surge of hope transforming the very fabric of their existence, and in the hearts of the Shechemites a flicker ignited, a desire for no longer standing apart, but side by side with their covenant family. Then the spark of divine wisdom whispered to Dinah's heart, Indeed, my daughter, the echoes of your story shall thread through generations. You shall become a voice of courage and resilience for the brokenhearted, a symbol of the journey from darkness into light. The heavenly current coursed through her, urging her onward. Suddenly, one of the Shechemite women, emboldened by the fervor, stepped forth. But how shall our children remember this moment? What testament do we bear to ensure this covenant shall not fade into oblivion? Her eyes sparkled with genuine concern for their future. Dinah smiled tenderly, recalling the stories of ancestors shared around evening fires, the transforming power found in remembrance. "Let us create a new legacy today," she proposed, her spirit ignited. "Let each family bring an offering, be it a token or a word, something that signifies our commitment to this peace forged today. Thus, our children may recall the healing birthed from our anguish." The crowd buzzed with anticipation, each person inspired to contribute. Families began to step forward, symbolizing their promises, while children with wide eyes grasped tokens of remembrance, the woven strings of their culture entwined with the miracle of this gathering. Stones marked with names inscribed in faith, and flowers carrying scents of renewed beginnings became the foundation of their collective memory. Amidst these offerings, Dinah presented a humble basket, awash with the first harvest of pure fruits, as vibrant as their newfound hope. May these offerings bear witness to our commitment to one another and our pursuit of love. Let them remind us of the abundance our reconciliation brings over the desolation we once harbored, she proclaimed, with a heart swelling with love and purpose. With each new offering, the well bubbled once more, the waters shimmering in appreciation, a divine endorsement for the sacred act they initiated together. A fresh promise to the Lord was anchored deeply in their hearts, soon to become a familiar refrain echoing through the annals of their history. As the sun began to rise higher, painting the skies with hues of orange and pink, the assembly stood together, transformed by their covenant of healing. No longer divided, they were one. Jacob looked upon his daughter, his heart swelling with love and pride, for Dinah had emerged from her past not as a victim but as a vibrant catalyst for divine restoration. In their hearts, a powerful awareness took root. The full measure of God's sovereign plan was unfolding among them. They were not just a family, but a channel of blessing that would reverberate across generations. Dinah, who once felt marred by tragedy, now radiated grace, reminding her people of the depths of God's mercy. And so they ventured forth, united in purpose, ready to inhabit the fullness of God's promise, a legacy not defined by their painful past, but by the transformative power of His love. Every step they took carried the essence of hope, intertwined with the yearning for wholeness that had begun at that well. As the assembly dispersed, bubbling with the joy and anticipation of what was to come, a gentle breeze whispered through the trees, carrying away remnants of fear and replacing them with faith. They rejoiced in their new legacy, for within their hearts the truth shone brightly. Each soul had a part in God's design, and together they would walk into a future steeped in His grace, forever changed by one daughter's courageous proclamation and the outreach of a loving family. In this sacred moment of divine victory, Dinah stood firmly in her truth. Her voice would indeed echo through eternity, a testament to God's unfailing compassion and His intricate weaving of peace through brokenness. With divine hope kindled in the hearts of all, the dawn began anew, radiant with promise. God was at work in the unfolding story of His people, illuminating the path ahead, urging them onward, for their season had arrived, one of redemption and glory, a shining beacon of faith to the world beyond. As the sun fully rose, Dinah resolved in her spirit, "This journey is but the beginning, and I am ready to embrace whatever lies ahead of me." For in her heart a sacred fire burned, a commitment to live out her story of healing and hope, such that all would know that what once was had been transformed through the unfathomable love of the Almighty.
Now, beloved followers and seekers of truth, let us not leave Dinah's story unacknowledged. Subscribe immediately to the channel to keep your hearts grounded in God's narrative and to witness more powerful biblical stories that inspire and uplift your faith. Leave a like now to help spread this word through the mighty workings of the algorithm. Every click shares God's message of hope. I invite you to comment your spiritual reflections on what Dinah's miraculous journey means for you and how faith weaves through your life. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear the eternal truth of God's love. Your engagement is a testament that only true believers deeply understand the importance of supporting biblical content to reach many souls for Christ. Let us embark on this journey together.